Hello everyone. I welcome you all in the online classes conducted by Adarsh Convent School Nature. This video has been created for the students of class 9. Our first chapter from your textbook Behive, entitled The Fun They Had. Dear students, in our last class we discussed about the theme of the chapter and about the title of the chapter, The Fun They Had. We discussed that this is a chapter based on the imagination of the author and it is just set in the future time in 22nd century. The fun they had. Actually, the theme of the chapter says that in 22nd century their students will not study as they are studying now. It means students will not use paper books, notebooks, and school bags, etc. There will be no schools, no classroom, and no notebooks and books. He says that students will study on online classes, they will take digital classes, they will learn through computers, and there will be virtual classrooms. It means the classrooms where students study at a computer, and the teacher will be a robotic teacher. It means man will not be a teacher, it means human teacher will not teach them, but a robotic, or you can say a mechanical teacher will teach them. And then there will be moving it text means text that is moving on a computer screen. So the story tells us that in future time, in 22nd centuries, there will be no place of real classrooms, no place for schools, only their online classes will be arranged and students will study at home on their computers. So let's start the chapter with first paragraph. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17 May 2057, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book." Margie, the character of the story, is a girl, and actually the story is in future time. We are talking about the date 17 May 2157. It means in the next century, on 17 May, Margie, a girl, she wrote in her diary that night, and on the page headed 17 May 2057, it means the time is running in future. She wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book." Actually, she writes in the diary that today Tommy find a real book. Here, what you mean by real book? Real book means a book that is printed on the paper. That is called real book. It was a very old book. The real book was very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. So it is told that the real book was an old book. It means, just imagine that in the next century, when when the children will find the books that we study in this century, in 21st century, then obviously it will become a old book. It means after 100 of years, after 100, or you can say 130 years later, if someone finds a book that we use in present, then it will be obviously feel like a very old thing, old article. So it was an old book. Margie's grandfather once said, so one time Margie's grandfather told her that when he was a little boy, then his grandfather, here his grandfather means grandfather of grandfather of Marzi's grandfather, he told her grandfather that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. Actually, the grandfather of Marzi's grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on papers. It means in 22nd century there is no book, no single word printed on paper. All the text is just printed on e-books, on in computers, laptops and mobiles. Actually, students study them. They turned the pages which were yellow and crinky, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen, you know. They turned the pages. Who turned the pages? Marzi and Tommy. They turned the pages, and the pages were yellow and crinky. There is a word, crinky. What you mean by crinky? Crinky means with many folds or lines. It means like when you squeeze a page and when you just spread it again, then you will find that there are a lot of thin lines and scratches like on it, so it becomes crinky. Crinky means with creases. So how were the pages? The pages were yellow. Yellow means the color was faded due to time, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen. And it was awfully funny for Marzi and Tommy. It was really funny to read words that stood still instead of moving. The words stood still, it means the words were not moving the way they were supposed to. Just imagine that in 22nd century, Marzi and Tommy are such children, they just read the text that actually moves on the screen. It means it doesn't stand still on the screen. But when they saw a real book, they found that the words printed on it were not actually, they were not moving, they were standing still on the paper. So it was really funny for them that when they found the text, the words printed on the paper was standing still instead of moving the way they were supposed to. It means they were supposing that the text should move like on the screen of the computer, but on real book, on paper book, you know that words cannot move. So it was really funny for them, you know. And then when they turned back to the pages before, it had the same words on it when it had when they read it the first time. And then there was another funny thing for them when they were reading real book. So what was that? And when they turned back to the page before, it means when they turned next and when they came back to the previous page, the last page, when they came back, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. It was surprising for them that when they came back to the last page, it had the same words that it had when they read it the first time. It means the words were not changed on the page. It means there were same words on the page when they turn back to the last page that they have read before. It means when you just compare it with your computer screen, the page that is found on computer, it means when you turn the page on the computer and when you come back on the page of the computer, the words are changed. It means screen is single on the computer, and when you read or when you print something, when you type something on the page, then next time the screen is same but the words are changed. But this is not same in the case of a textbook. It means on the textbook, when you have printed something, it will become like permanently. It means you cannot print anything else on the same page. Next paragraph. Gee, said Tommy, what a waste. When you are through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Gee means expression of disgust. Said Tommy. Tommy said, what a waste. And Tommy says that it looks like that book is like a waste. Real book is a waste. It's not interesting. It's not worthy. When you are through with the book, it means you go through the book. When you study it, you just throw it away, I guess. Tommy says that I guess when you read such a disgusting book, such a boring book, then you will feel like that you are going to throw it away. It means it's of no use for you. Our television screen must have had a million books on it, and it's good for plenty more. Tommy says that the screen of our television, of our computer, it must have had a million books. There are million of books, lot of books on it, and it's good for plenty more. It means the computer screen is good for plenty more books. It means you can upload, you can download, and you can study a million of books on in a single computer. You can store a lot of books, a lot of data, a lot of content in a single hard disk. But this is not same with the paper book, real book. I wouldn't throw it away. I wouldn't throw it away. It means I'm not going to throw away my computer or my television because it has a lot of information in short space, short slot. Same with mine, said Margie. Now Margie says that same with mine. It's same with me means I also like television book in the comparison of real book. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. So Margie was 11 years old and she was younger than Tommy, so she hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. So Tommy's age was 13 years. She said, where did you find it? In my house. He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. So as Margie was 11 years and Tommy was 13 years old, so Margie said that where did you find the real book? Then Tommy's reply is, in my house. He pointed without looking because he was busy reading in the attic. So Tommy is telling that I found this book in my house in the attic. So there is a word for us is attic. So what is the attic? Attic means a space just below the roof used as a storeroom. Generally you see that attic is just a space below the roof that is just used for store to keep just old articles, or you can say the things that you not use regularly. It means it is just a space made in your house under the roof. So Tommy pointed at the attic and said that I found it in the attic of my house. So Margie says, what is it about? It means about what the book is. What is the subject of the book? What is the topic of the book? It means what is written in this book. Then Tommy says, school. It means the book is written about schools. Now, so dear students, in this chapter we can see here that there are two characters and they are talking with each other, Margie and Tommy. So Margie is 11 years old girl and Tommy is a boy who is actually 13. So they have found a real book and they are just discussing about it, that what is a real book. Real book means a book that is printed on paper. So they are just talking to each other and they are just telling their views that they like television or computer screen because it can store a lot of books, but they just don't like much the paper book because it takes a lot of space, and actually it is very just unusual for them. So they are just discussing about a real book. So we have done two paragraphs, and we will just continue the paragraph third in our next class. So you are just advised, you are supposed to have a revision and look for the word meanings like cranky and attic and so on. So dear students, this is enough for the today as we have limited time. So I will just see you later in your next class. Till then, stay home, stay safe, take care, have a nice day. Bye.